Let's get one thing clear right off the bat. Even entertaining the idea of trading Ja Morant for Zion Williamson is not only misguided, it's franchise malpractice. There are bad trades, and then there are the kind of decisions that derail a decade of progress. This would be the latter.
Every game the dream comes true. The NBA recap, where the chords ignite. The NBA recap, every story night. The NBA recap.
For all the recent drama surrounding Ja Morant, the suspension, the clash with rookie head coach Tuomas Iisalo, and the general noise around his leadership, he remains the heartbeat of Memphis basketball. Morant put this city back on the national map. He made the Grizzlies relevant again. Not through luck, but through relentless electricity every night. The energy, the highlight plays, the swagger, it all comes from him. Memphis may be 3-6 right now, but the problem isn't Ja's existence. It's the turbulence around him, including the departure of Desmond Bane, who was traded to Orlando this summer for draft capital. Zach Kleiman's front office wanted to retool. Fine. But if the next move in that line of thinking is to send out your 25-year-old franchise cornerstone for a player who hasn't been available for half of his career, that's not retooling. That's self-destruction. Zion Williamson could have been one of the most dominant players of his generation. The problem is, he's never been that player for long enough to matter. Since entering the league in 2019, Zion has suited up for 219 of a possible 480 games. That's 45.6% of New Orleans contests. He's missed more time than he's played, and every comeback seems to end the same way. Flashes of brilliance followed by another injury report. And it's not just physical. Within the Pelicans organization, multiple executives, coaches, and teammates have come and gone during Zion's tenure, a revolving door of frustration and unmet expectations. Even new basketball operations president Joe Dumars, who praised Zion's offseason work, is already facing the familiar nightmare. Zion's sidelined again with his 5th significant hamstring injury. So, Memphis would be trading for a player who has never played in a playoff game, who's a below-average defender, and whose jumper remains unreliable at best. For a team built on grit, pace, and paint pressure, that's not a gamble, that's a regression. Let's talk basketball fit. Zion is a ball-dominant forward who thrives when he has the rock and the paint is wide open. The Grizzlies, however, are built around an elite drive and kick guard in Ja Morant, a rim-protecting big in Jaren Jackson Jr., and a system that emphasizes defensive pressure and tempo. Head coach Tuomas Iisalo's high-intensity mass substitution system demands a guard who can collapse defenses, run transition, and sustain pace. Ja is that guard. Zion isn't. He doesn't have the conditioning to sustain that pace, nor does he have the shooting to stretch defenses in half-court sets. His game thrives in bursts, not in a system predicated on continuity and relentlessness. You're not getting a fit. You're getting a square peg for a round hole. And on defense, Zion's motor fluctuates. Memphis built its identity on toughness and energy, two things Zion has yet to consistently display on that end. Let's run the comparison straight. Ja Morant has played in roughly 73% of possible games across 4 seasons, even with suspensions. Zion has played in just 45%. You can't lead a team from the bench, no matter how high your ceiling is. Memphis knows all too well what happens when its stars aren't on the floor. They've spent the past year fighting through injuries to Morant, Bane, and Steven Adams. They can't afford to add another player whose career reads like a medical report. Zion's body has proven unreliable. His athleticism, once otherworldly, doesn't hold up under NBA workloads. And even when he's in shape, as one Western Conference scout put it, it doesn't take long for the next setback to arrive. Morant is under contract for 3 more years, roughly $126 million total, a figure that looks more and more reasonable as the salary cap rises. He's locked in, controllable, and still young enough to hit another peak once the noise fades. Zion, on the other hand, is tied to a non-guaranteed deal that offers team protection but not stability. Sure, Memphis could bail if things go south, but the damage to chemistry, marketing, and public trust would already be done. Trading your star for someone who might only play 40 games before another rehab stint doesn't just ruin on-court continuity, it kills locker room belief. The Grizzlies just backed their rookie coach over their franchise player once. Doing it again by trading Jay would signal to every young player on the roster, including rookies like Cedric Coward and Jalen Wells, that loyalty in Memphis is conditional. That's not the culture you want. Across the league, executives aren't fooled by hype. One Western Conference executive summed up Zion's market plainly. His trade value isn't there. That's the truth. The Pelicans might talk themselves into a change of scenery, but that's code for we're stuck. Zion's value has plummeted because teams know what they'd be getting: a gifted scorer who can't stay healthy, doesn't defend, and hasn't evolved since Duke. Ja, despite his off-court issues, remains viewed as a borderline top 10 guard, and that's before considering his age and superstar gravity. He sells jerseys, fills FedEx Forum, and genuinely wants to be in Memphis, a market that has historically struggled to attract free agents. Trading that kind of player for damaged goods is not bold, it's reckless. Zach Kleiman was right when he said after last season's sweep, "We're not close." But the solution to that gap isn't to blow up what's left of the foundation. Trading Desmond Bane for picks was a reset. Handing Jaren Jackson Jr. a $240 million extension was a recommitment. The logical next step is rebuilding trust and structure around Ja Morant, not detonating it for a player whose own franchise has given up hope. A Zion trade doesn't fix culture. It replaces one uncertainty with another. It doesn't solve the chemistry issues between Ja and Iisalo. It erases the identity that got Memphis here in the first place: hustle, speed, edge, and resilience. Let's not lose sight of the human side of this. Morant connects with Memphis. The community, the energy, the street ball swagger, it's real. When he dunks, the city feels it. When he's in the lineup, the arena hums differently. You can't trade that connection. You can't fake that kind of charisma with a player whose availability is a coin flip and whose relationship with his own city has worn thin. Zion Williamson might be a superstar on paper, but Ja Morant is the pulse of Memphis. And if the Grizzlies forget that if they let trade machine logic dictate what should be a cultural decision, they'll wake up a few years from now wondering how they let their fire burn out chasing a broken bulb. Ja Morant isn't perfect. He's learning, growing, and navigating the turbulence of being a young superstar in a small market. But he's worth fighting for, and Memphis is the right place to do it. Zion Williamson? He's the wrong player at the wrong time with the wrong body for this franchise. Trading Morant for Zion wouldn't just be a bad basketball move, it would be the kind of decision that defines regret. Because when you have a generational guard who wants to lead your city, you don't trade him away for a highlight reel that never plays. You build around him. You weather the storms. And you remember, Memphis doesn't run from grit, it lives in it. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the NBA Recap. I'm Lucas, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned for more in-depth NBA coverage right here on the NBA Recap.